which means Mike Shoesmith, our Canadian correspondent. He's all over the United States, all over Canada. He is a licensed investigator in the nation of Canada. He's also a best-selling author. He is also a syndicated blogger. He is also the executive editor of the PNN News and Ministry Network, an international news and ministry viral site that's been around for, this is the 10th anniversary this year, isn't it, Mike?
This year, 10 years, Carl, we've been together.
Yeah.
How does it feel?
Yeah.
Are you sick of me yet?
Well, no, it's pretty cool. Well, all I seem to do is just contribute little things here and there while you run the whole thing, you and the people that work for you. But, but I mean, early on, it was just me. I mean, 10 years ago, and then you and I got hooked up. Then we had other people come on board. Now we've got affiliates, and we've got, we've got a studio in Israel. We've got one in Toronto. We've got a couple down here on the Gulf Coast. One in China. I mean, it's the one in China is underground, but we've got one there. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. But anyway. So I know you were listening, and I know you have some comments about this school shooting along the lines of things that we're talking about that the media is either not talking about, or they're glossing over, or they're absolutely ignoring it. So let me hush and you start it, but I am going to jump in with you. Go ahead.
Well, I can't get into the controversy here, even though the evidence for some kind of controversy, some kind of weirdness about all of this is reminiscent of Sandy Hook. I can't get into all of that, Carl, because I asked a few questions about Sandy Hook. I was threatened with lawsuits and death threats, and they threatened to take down our YouTube channels. And I mean, I just can't get into all of that. I mean, I'm just going to let other people handle this one.
Well, and let me just say, I respect that, but here's my take on it. It's just like this video montage we put up. We didn't take a stand on it. We didn't make any, we didn't make any claims of nobody died. Of course they did. We didn't make any claims of, we know for a fact there was more than one shooter. The media's lying to us. Well, the media does lie. We know that. And but my take on it is we should always investigate and, yes, quote, question the mainstream media. We now know that it's riddled with fake news, riddled with cover-ups. Look at the cover-up in the FBI. Look what we know about that. Look what Mike Zullo and I know about the CIA in the birth certificate. I mean, why should we just suck up whatever CNN says on the news and say that's gospel? So, but we have not made any wild claims. We put up this video montage, which is what? A video of students being interviewed on the spot, live as it's happening, and they're just telling what they believe to be the truth.
Right, and so we'll just let that stand. I mean, I'm not going to be, because I interviewed people who said that Sandy Hook, nobody died, and I interviewed Wolfgang Hall Big, who claims to have evidence that he's just asking 8 simple questions that nobody wants to answer. I interviewed him. Then I interviewed somebody else who says that Wolfgang Hall Big is an illiterate imbecile. I mean, I interviewed everybody.
Oh, listen, I've been called those kind of names too, brother, but because of the birth certificate investigation. And there are about 15 questions that nobody will answer yet. And I know what I know, hard copy evidence, forensic evidence signed off on affidavit style by 2 different international corporations that deal in this. I know what I know, and people still won't answer questions in the media, and there's a reason for it.
And just for asking questions that nobody wants to answer, you get threats on your life, and people want to bankrupt.
Don't give up. No, listen to me. Don't give up, Mike. You got to keep asking questions. We just learn as we go how to ask them, and and the boundaries. But I'm going to keep asking the questions. That's why people listen to Freedom Friday. That's why people go to PNN, because we do ask the tough questions.
Right. And I suppose that's true. I don't think I'm giving up necessarily. I just think that I'm going to focus my attention more on the fact that, yes, people are dying in these schools. I don't know if Eric Holder's policy of using the media and so on to get Americans' mindset into a place where they're willing to give up their guns, as Eric Holder, I believe, in the entire Obama administration wants to see happen, and really, essentially, that has already happened, in my opinion, because the Second Amendment really does not exist in reality in the United States anymore. It only exists in a document, the Second Amendment, which is part of the Bill of Rights, and the Bill of Rights is the first 10 amendments to the United States Constitution. I mean, let me just read that for you. It says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. When I read that, Carl, I sort of conflate that with the Declaration of Independence, where it says, let me read the portion of that. It says in there something about, I just had that here, and now it's gone. But,
we'll paraphrase it for right now.
When a long string of abuses makes it necessary to throw off the shackles of tyranny in the United States. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I read that in the United States Declaration of Independence, I conflate that with the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
That how do you throw off the shackles of a tyrannical government if you have no ability to do that by force? Because the United States originally did that by force with King George. Mm-hmm. They had to do it by force. So the Declaration of Independence says that if a long train of abuses happens again, the United States people have a right and a duty to do this, to throw this off. So when I read the first part A of the Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, I conflate that with that statement, that the people of the United States have that right and duty to throw off these shackles of a tyrannical government. All right? That's a whole other topic, but the second part B to the Second Amendment says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Yeah,
what does the word infringe mean? Yeah. The word infringe means limited in any way at all.
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
So you've spoken many times to the fact that you used to take the guns to school. And let me just say that if this was to happen in a place, in a school, where the Second Amendment was not being infringed, this would not happen. If it did happen, it would not last long because you would have 12-year-old boys pulling out their shotguns and blowing this person away because 12-year-old boys used to take guns to school and to go hunting after school.
Back in the pioneer days, they did. And even in my day, which wasn't the pioneer days, when I was old enough to drive, a junior, senior in high school, we'd go hunting after school, and so we would come to school with our shotguns and rifles and in our trucks and in our cars. And I didn't have a truck, I had a car, but in the back seat of the car. Yeah, and I've told this story before. And the principal, that knew my parents, and I knew him very well and his whole family. He would come out sometimes at lunch when he knew it was hunting season, and he'd want to look at that special shotgun I had, that Belgium-made Sweet 16 Browning shotgun. And we'd pull it out right there in the parking lot, and he'd look. Of course, it was not loaded, but I had the shells there. But, that was in my day, which is just one generation ago. Man, we've gone down a rabbit hole since then. It's not the guns, it's the people. Something's happening to the people, and I think I know what it is. Go ahead, Mike.
Yes, and I think I do too. And, other people who know what it is are asking this question in their mind: what does America look like if the Second Amendment is more than just handwriting on a document? If the Second Amendment was really put into place, Judge Napolitano came out after the shooting and he said he wants America to copy Israel and train teachers how to use firearms.
Yes, me too.
And I'm fully on board with that, and I'll tell you why. It's because let's take a look at what people in the United States are protected by guns. Well, we'll start with the president. He's protected. He's surrounded by guns.
Yep.
The congressmen, the governors, celebrities, sporting events, jewelry stores, they're all protected by people with guns, Carl.
Yeah.
The banks, this was a pet peeve of mine, the banks are protected by guns. You walk into a 7-Eleven and you go to sometimes you'll walk into a store, like a convenience store or whatever, you'll see two guys with the front face of a ATM open. One guy's filling it full of money. The other guy is standing next to him with a very stern look on his face. Both of them are armed to the teeth.
Yeah,
and there's also a guy in the Brinks truck with shotguns and pistols. And if you dare try anything on that, he just opens a little door and just blows your head off because they protect the money with guns. Office buildings, factories, the courts are full of people with guns. Well, how do we defend children?
We don't.
With a sign that reads, "This is a gun-free zone."
Yeah, so come kill our children.
That's how we protect.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't say come kill our children, but that's how the deranged mind sees it. Gun-free zone? Gun-free zone? Mallory had something to say about a gun-free zone a little while ago. A gun-free zone? What are you saying? You're saying to the deranged people, come kill our children. You're not going to get shot here.
And it's a tricky subject to talk about the Second Amendment, because the Second Amendment, the American people have allowed infringement on their right to keep and bear arms. And they say, well, what about the deranged people? What about these people? What about those people? Yeah. You know what? You said you think you know why this is happening. This is happening because of the erosion of the nuclear family, the father, mother, son, daughter dynamic. As it is laid out in the Bible, the father stays with the family, the mother stays with the family, the kids are brought up properly, they're taught how to keep and bear arms properly. The father is, and this used to be the mindset of the American government, by the way. I've done some research on this. The American government believed that it's the father's role in society to teach their sons and daughters how to properly maintain and use a firearm. Mm-hmm. And that it's always been the case up until government intervention, and the government said, no, we're going to take over, the welfare state's going to happen. Nanny, from the cradle to the grave, the government will run everything, and now we have all these people running amok because the American people have allowed the Second Amendment to be infringed, limited in any way. Look up the definition of infringed, and the founders said the rights of the American people to keep their arms shall not be limited in any way. Well, how does that look on the ground? Well, how it looks on the ground is if parents are teaching their children how to properly maintain and use firearms, that looks just fine. It looks just fine. And if one person gets out of hand and starts going all crazy on everybody, that person is dealt with expeditiously. Yeah. And it's over. It's finished, and everybody goes on. You know, they go home to their family safe and sound. Nobody goes to, Donald Trump said in his speech, it's not right for children to have to go to school afraid. Children would not go to school afraid if they knew that there was firearms available to look after themselves.
And let me just say, I posted this on Facebook today, and I stand by it. I think Florida parents, whether they're involved with the Parkland, Florida school system or not, they ought to get a class action lawsuit and sue the public school system of Florida and the Florida legislature, if that's possible. Sometimes legislatures are exempt from being sued. I don't know, but they need to sue any and everybody who's involved with and who pushes for gun-free zones in our schools. Like you said, can you imagine if we said, all ATM machines from now on are gun-free zones. All banks are gun-free zones. No gun. Nobody's allowed to have a gun. Nobody. Can you imagine? Yeah. No, they won't. Why? Because that's our money. But the schools contain our most precious commodity, our most precious possessions, our hearts and our souls, our children, the future of our nation. And we say, no guns allowed here. No guns. Why? We're not going to protect our children? We'll protect our money, but we won't protect our children. Oh. And so I say, sue. 17 dead people, most of them kids. Sue them out of their brains. And if that doesn't work, get your kids out. Pull them out by the tens of thousands all over the state. Put them in homeschooling. Put them in private schools that do have a security protocol, that do have security officers and or people who are trained to carry their firearms to protect their kids. Listen, it's like my church. Mike, as a senior pastor of a church here in Florida, said, you know what? No guns at all allowed on this campus. That we're just going to sit here and we're going to let everybody know. Plus, we're going to tell everybody our church is a gun-free zone. You know what? People would refuse to come to that church. And if they did come and they got hurt or one of their kids got killed, they would sue the church and they would sue me. And you know what? Churches have been sued for that, and they've lost the lawsuits, brother. Why don't we do this to the schools? I know I've got public school officials listening that hate my guts right now, but I don't care. We're talking about dead kids because of a politically correct, insane agenda of protect our money but don't protect our kids.
The whole thing just drives me batty, especially up here in Canada, where that is true on a phenomenal scale. I once followed a bridge truck to a bank, or actually it was to a liquor store, and these guys came out of this armored car. I mean, loaded for. They could fight a small war from the back of that bridge truck.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or that armored car, and I videotaped the whole thing, and they walked into that liquor store armed to the teeth with bags full of money, and I got the whole thing on tape. I said, "There you go, Canada.
Yep.
Look how they feel about the money here in Canada, and yet Canadians are suffering in schools, especially from sitting duck syndrome.
Yep, sitting duck syndrome.
American Survival Wholesale is proud to sponsor this ministry and their efforts to shed light on the issues that face our nation. As a veteran and Christian-owned and operated company, we support the freedom to express these Christian principles. We all understand the importance of being prepared. After witnessing the devastation of Hurricanes Harvey, Irma, and the wildfires that affected so many, please support this ministry by clicking on the link below and check out the amazing alt media package for our listeners. Plus, if you use the promo code PNN Radio, that's PNN Radio, you will receive free shipping, a savings of up to $200. Just click on the link below, but please do it today. Your support means so much to this channel.
The Satanists wanted to install their own tribute, a pagan idol, on the Capitol grounds, right next to the Ten Commandments.
Billions around the planet are witnessing a world in the grasp of sadistic spiritual darkness. This unholy alliance has infected our governments, our religious institutions, and our societies. The world appears to be unraveling. But can the evil behind these dark supernatural forces be defeated? Is everything playing out just as the Bible predicted it will in the final days? At last, you can know the answers to mankind's most urgent questions and learn your destiny among today's events in the new, unprecedented work taking the prophecy world by storm. Gods and Thrones, Nakash, Forgotten Prophecy and the Return of the Elohim by best-selling author, former decorated law enforcement officer, and senior pastor Carl Gallups. This changes everything. Available now wherever fine books are sold.